Hi, Rick. Good to be on the program.
Bill, I want to get into the details of Iraq with ISIS, but I believe the blame here, if we want to place blame, because blame's being placed in the media today, it goes back. It's shared by both these presidents, but I think it's disingenuous for those on the left to say, you know what, it was George Bush that created this. He went in under false pretenses of weapons of mass destruction. President Obama inherited the problem. What's happening today is not of any reflection upon President Obama. I think it's disingenuous, and I think it's silly. Am I wrong on that?
Yeah, there's a lot of finger pointing on who's to blame. I think the real culprit here is al-Qaeda. That's the enemy. They've taken a large swath of Iraq, and they're using it to gain both money and military resources for their battles in Iraq as well as in Syria. So this is an unfolding, dangerous situation that has long-term negative implications for the United States. You know, if these guys were just terrorists that were going to stick around in Syria and Iraq, my view is it'd be fine if they would kill each other. But they have aspirations to try and kill us, and that's really the problem, and that's why it's got to be dealt with in some fashion here.
And, Bill, I thought al-Qaeda was on the run. Now, let's get into these implications. You've had some tough talk there. You say that, you know, I agree with you. It's one thing these guys would each kill each other, but they have their sights on us, and that is it's not a good thing, obviously. So ISIS has seized some major weapons assets, weapons which originated here in the U.S. They've seized these assets and are shipping them to Syria. What are the consequences of this? Does it mean that Baghdad is inevitable to fall? How do we deal with this?
Well, first off, the implications are that a lot of equipment was seized. We're talking about 3 Iraqi divisions, and probably 1 that basically just fled the scene, and that left all of their trucks, Humvees, tanks, howitzers, artillery pieces in the hands of the ISIS, or ISIL, I-S-I-L, goes by both names. And there's intelligence that they're actually moving this equipment back to Syria. It has implications for the Syrian civil war because now ISIL will be among the better armed rebel groups there, and there's fighting among the rebels there, and they'll also be able to do a better job of attacking the Bashar Assad forces from Damascus. So there's that aspect to it. And then, of course, is the instability inside Iraq. You have this group that's driving towards Baghdad, although they don't think that they're going to go to Baghdad. It's probably too much of a challenge for them militarily, but they do have significant assets that they've taken, namely the city of Mosul, second largest in Iraq, as well as Tikrit and a number of other smaller towns. It's
just amazing, Bill Gertz, as I listen to you, I mean, can the mistakes that have been made here be any more consequential when I hear you talk about Syria and Iraq? Now, President Obama has ruled out airstrikes, at least publicly. There may be a different story going on behind the scenes. I mean, you've made it clear that the U.S. needs to deal with this situation, not just send 275 Special Forces members in and bring out U.S. Citizens from the embassy. We've got to deal with this thing. In your expert belief, what do you believe this administration should do to deal with this thing, and what do you believe will happen?
Well, right now they're weighing the options. Today on Capitol Hill, Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel and Martin Dempsey, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, were asked about this. Obviously, they didn't tip their hand. They said all options are on the table. There aren't a lot of good options. This is not the kind of situation where large military forces are going to be effective. I think when it all comes down to it, what we do is we'll end up doing some very spooky intelligence gathering on the ground, special forces, intelligence people, followed up by some targeted drone strikes, and which could basically decapitate this movement and try to eliminate it. The overall solution, though, is not going to be kinetic. It's got to be some type of ideological counter against this Islamist group. It's something that neither the Bush or the Obama administrations has been willing to do, but that's ultimately the long-term solution.
long-term being the key word there. Anytime you use ideological, we're probably looking at generations in terms of making a change. Or am I too exaggerated in that claim?
Well, I think you could do it in 5 to 10 years with a very good targeted campaign. Unfortunately, wow. They're not doing anything right now.
All right, real quick in a remaining moment, Bill, I need to ask you about this arrest in the Benghazi case. Who is this character? The timing is really suspicious. He's been appearing on Fox News, on CNN. He was spotted drinking strawberry drinks at a hotel in the Middle East, and all of a sudden, we're able to locate him. Tell us about your take on this.
This is Ahmed Abu Khattala. He was indicted by the U.S. government for his role in the Benghazi attack, September 11th, 2012. He's considered the key ringleader in that attack, which is linked to an al-Qaeda-inspired group called Ansar al-Sharia. I think the timing is suspect. Last year, there was a raid to capture a guy named al-Libi, and people came to me and said, hey, we captured this one guy. Why aren't we going after the mastermind of Benghazi? All of a sudden, you look at the timing here. You have Congress spinning up a very effective, hopefully, special committee that's going to look into this. Now they've snatched this Khattala character, and they're launching a criminal investigation. I've seen this in the past. When the government doesn't want to cooperate with a congressional investigation, they launch a criminal probe, and that gives them the grounding to say we're not going to cooperate with this committee because it will affect an ongoing criminal investigation. So I'm very concerned about the timing of this. I think there is some political motive behind it, although I imagine that the administration would deny that.
Bill Gertz, as always, you provide astute insight on the key topics of the day. You're the first person I have seen to come out in the media and draw the correlation of why a criminal trial related to the congressional investigation. Thank you for joining us. Bill Gertz of the Washington Free Beacon.
Thank you.
More trouble.